Joining us right now is Potomac Wealth Advisors founder and president Mark Avallone. And Mark, it's always good to see you. Thanks so much for weighing in this morning.
Good to be here.
Is there anything that could come out of this meeting that you think will move markets? Tell us how you're expecting things to play out on Friday at the G20.
Well, I think any good news, any movement on the trade front is going to be good for stocks. Right now, that's the #1 driver for equity markets, and it's for equity markets around the world. This tariff talk and the trade struggles have really depressed economic activity here and abroad, and especially in the emerging markets. So if we see progress, even if it's not the real, deep, and full deal that the president and his team want, I think it's good for stocks. And I think investors should also take a measured look at this. We're not going to get a detailed soup-to-nuts agreement with the Chinese now. It's going to be a long-term, perhaps a decades-long struggle, but any good news coming out of the meeting will help stock prices.
Yeah, I mean, the real question, guys and gal on the panel, is what happens with the remaining $325 billion in goods from China coming into the U.S. Does the president put the tariffs on that money, or does the president kick it down the road? Maybe kicking the can down the road on that would be a positive for the markets. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, yeah, I've always maintained we're not going to get a deal done with China until we absolutely have to, and that's going to be coming into the next election cycle, right? The Chinese don't need to make a deal. This president doesn't need to make a deal because he'll be worried, it'll be gone by the next election cycle, right? No one's talking about the government shutdown, right? No one's talking about, North Korea anymore. I mean, it's still there, but it's not moving markets. And so I think this $325 billion dollars worth of tariffs is just dangling out there as a carrot to use. But, I don't think a deal is going to get done.
I thought it was just an extra threat so that the talks are more productive at G20.
All right, so you're just thinking it's leverage.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question for Mark would be what happens if there is no deal done, and what happens if Trump actually goes through with that threat, because we're already seeing some potential slowdown.
Well, if we don't have it, I think the Fed is the wild card here, and I think this is why the president talked tough about Jerome Powell earlier this week. Remember, as Kevin just said, the Chinese are an autocratic government. They have tools at their disposal. They're not a democracy. They can lower their currency. They could make tax reform. They could do whatever they want to do to stay strong and look President Trump in the eye and say we're not going to give. The president doesn't have that leeway, which is why he wishes he had the Fed in his back pocket, and he wants the Fed to help him in this fight against the Chinese. If we don't get a deal with the Chinese, then the Fed will become President Trump's friend, because if a deal doesn't happen, that's going to slow the economy. It's going to spur talk about the Fed lowering rates. If we get a deal with the Chinese, I think the Fed stays on the sideline. And that's why this is an interesting triangle that we have between the Fed, Chinese president, and Trump.
Well, that conversation has happened. We're talking about lowered rates. Jay Powell is going to be speaking later today at the Council of Foreign Relations. The president commented on Powell's job status in an interview with The Hill. Here's what the president said when asked if he could fire the Fed chair. If I wanted to, but I have no plans to do anything. So, look, the president has been, has not made a secret of the way that he feels about Jay Powell. It's just that he doesn't know what he's doing, frankly. Kevin Kelly, your reaction?
Listen, my reaction is the president can't have it both ways. He talks about how strong the economy is, how well the stock market's doing, that we have the strongest economy on record, best numbers here, and here. Then why do you want to cut rates, Mr. President, if we're so strong and we're doing so well? And then you want to fire, the Fed president, right? I mean, that makes zero sense.
Just to be clear, he didn't really say he was going to fire him. He was asked a question. He says, "We'll see what happens." He says, "We'll see what happens."
Right, but the president was pounding his fist. Cut rates.
He doesn't like Jay Powell. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but guess who nominated Jay Powell?
Yeah.
And
he called him a stubborn child.
Yeah, but what happened at the end of last year when we were all talking about 3 rate hikes, and the unwinding of the balance sheet, and then 6 months later we're having a completely different conversation.
Yeah,
so obviously Jay Powell made a mistake at the end of last year.
Or the president's administration's policies, especially with coming on with tariffs and all these other things, where he did steel and aluminum tariffs against our allies, and then when the Europeans came over here and they were trying to strike a deal on autos.
So you blame Trump for that? You blame Trump for the
No, I don't completely blame him, but he's part of the problem too, right?
And I feel like Powell is reacting to real-time conditions.
Yeah.
It's not an all or nothing thing. Listen, there's fiscal policy and monetary policy.
You can't say things are great and then say you want a cut in rates. Mark Avallone, you got the final word here. Go ahead, sir.
I think the president on this one's a little smarter than people are giving him credit for. I think he wants to threaten or intimidate the Chinese to think that he's going to get lower rates, that he can withstand more of the trade war. I think he's going in there wanting a deal, and he wants to start from a position of strength. And I think that's what this round, this recent volley against the Fed chair is all about.
Well, that's interesting, that it's a message to the Chinese. Mark, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Mark Avallone joining us there.